There are two waves of the Booster Course Pass left to speculate on, and since Wave 5 is probably going to be announced any day now, I decided to put out a video going over the remaining tracks on Mario Kart Tour that haven't been added yet, and I wanted to rank them from worst to best because my brain is broken and I don't know how else to do things. If you count the courses without Tour remakes, there's actually about 80 tracks not in 8 Deluxe, but today we're just going to be going over the 45 in Tour for two reasons. The Tour remakes are the closest things a lot of these courses have to modern remakes, and so I don't break my brain even more. Got that? Well, let's go. A lot of these SNES courses are going to be near the bottom, because the tracks themselves aren't super interesting, and a lot of them share the exact same theme. Starting us off is Donut Plains 2, which is not only super similar to Mario Circuit 3 in terms of aesthetic, but is a track I feel would really take away from the Booster Course Pass, since Donut Plains 3 is in the base game, and already showed how to make a good remake of a course like this one. So for the DLC, you choose a similar course but with a worse remake? Seems counterintuitive in my opinion. This one has the same problem of being a bad remake that's very similar to a good remake, but it's slightly better because it has a bridge, and that's kinda cool. Mario Circuit 1 would be an incredibly redundant choice, since it's an even simpler version of one of the most simple tracks in 8 Deluxe, Mario Circuit 3. But honestly, a small part of me wants it because it's the first track in the first Mario Kart game. But yeah, I could 100% live without it. In fact, I'd probably prefer to do so, in all honesty. Cheep-Cheep Lagoon is the track meant to show off underwater racing in Mario Kart 7, which means it's incredibly basic and has almost nothing to it. It has this part where you can go on a glider ramp if you go on a slightly thinner road. I have nothing. Wow, another boring SNES track. And this one has a much better version later on? Next. I went pretty hard on Luigi Raceway in my Mario Kart 7 track ranking video, so much so that I actually had it under Cheep-Cheep Lagoon, but I feel they gave it a pretty alright remake in Tour. The blimp actually lowers farther away from the item boxes, making it not completely useless, because in 7 and 64 the blimp item box could only be obtained after you got a different one, and honestly I think the track looks pretty good in Tour's art style. Definitely not a track I'm hyping up, it's not even one I want, but would I be mad if it got added at this point? Honestly, yes, but whatever, it's fine. Daisy Hills is a much better track than Luigi Raceway, especially in Mario Kart 7, but I feel its remake and Tour left a lot to be desired. The track doesn't really look that hot anymore, and the aesthetic was kind of the main thing I liked about the original. It's still an alright course, and honestly I probably wouldn't lose any sleep if it was added, but there are way better choices from 7 specifically. The first 3 GBA Bowser Castles in Tour all have the exact same background and aesthetic, which is something I don't like at all. The sprite art in the background of the GBA courses was what gave each of those tracks its own unique feel, and that's completely gone with GBA Bowser Castle 1, 2, and 3 in Tour. The layouts are fine, it's just I feel these remakes are incredibly underwhelming, but I do really want more than one Bowser Castle in 8 Deluxe, so that's why I got these 3 this high. A lot of people say that the Ghost Valleys are incredibly unlikely to return in 8 Deluxe because of Boo Lake's addition, and while I agree with their lack of likeliness, I think they'd be okay additions because they give off a much different vibe from Boo Lake, at least to me. There's just a different Ghost Valley I'd much prefer having in 8 Deluxe over Ghost Valley 2. Daisy Circuit recently got a pretty good remake in Tour, and I have no doubt that with the sunset it would look great in Mario Kart 8's engine. The problem is I've never been a huge fan of this course in general, even in Wii. Daisy and Luigi just don't strike me as the most appealing couple. They seem like that pair that would constantly be trying to sell you some pyramid scheme they got tricked into. Koopa Beach 2 is not a great track, but at least it's unique, and I feel the water effect, which already looks pretty good in Tour, could look that much better in HD. Another underwhelming Bowser's Castle is Mario Kart 7's iteration of the classic course. There are some other Bowser's Castles I much prefer to get in, as you'll see later in the video, but my aforementioned want for a remade Bowser Castle on Switch made this track go as high as 32. Also, this spinning cone thing is kinda neat. Basically the better version of Choco Island 1, and honestly one that I think is pretty alright. Mind-blowing? No. Fairly underwhelming addition to the booster course pass this late into its run? Yes. Still an alright track? Yeah, I guess so. I actually like Mario Circuit 2 quite a bit, and I think it should have 100% been the course they chose over Mario Circuit 3. The problem is, they did choose Mario Circuit 3, so adding 2 this late in the game is kinda weird. Still, I think it'd be alright to see layout-wise. Just weird to see 2 basically identical track themes in one DLC. Like Mario Circuit 2, I'm a pretty decent fan of Mario Kart 7's Mario Circuit, but we've had 3 circuit tracks in the DLC so far, and we really don't need another. Same points as Ghost Valley 2, but I like the layout more, so I'd much prefer this one to be added. Now, I'm honestly not a huge fan of Frappe Snowland in either Mario Kart DS or 64, but I feel like the Tour remake improved a lot of the track. My main problem with the original was just how foggy everything is, especially in the DS remake, but it's much clearer in Tour and presumably a deluxe. Also, it'd be nice to have both Choco Mountain and Frappe Snowland. Rosalina's Ice World is one of the most forgettable tracks in 7, but I actually think it's a little underrated. The section where you're driving on the quarter pipe is really fun, and the part with the ice melting, making the top path inaccessible on later laps is pretty cool, and I like all the Mario Galaxy imagery, but overall it comes down to the fact that there's better choices to pick for Mario Kart 7. Our third ice-themed course, DK Pass, is easily my favorite of the 3. It's a good track, but it's a bit too similar to DK Summit for my liking, both having DK in the name and involving climbing up a snow mountain. They're very different layout-wise, but I feel like they made the right choice picking DK Summit over DK Pass. Mushroom Bridge is just a really cozy course. It's not mind-blowing, just a really solid track I definitely wouldn't mind seeing again. Yoshi Desert was a pretty underwhelming course in its original incarnation, but Tour gave it a really satisfying remake. It even kept the Yoshi Sphinx, which is genuinely awesome. I'd actually say I really want this course, but there's other GBA courses that are even better choices. Even still, I would have much preferred this over the Sky Garden remake. Sky Garden is kind of the opposite of Yoshi Desert, great in the original game, with a ho-hum remake. Airship Fortress was always one of the best tracks in DS and 7, and many people have been wanting it in a deluxe. In fact, it's probably the most requested track I've heard from fans. But honestly, I'm not a huge fan of the Tour remake, and I feel it would be a little disappointing in a deluxe. The atmosphere just isn't there in this remake. The sky is a dangerous purple color in 7 and DS, but it's much more clear in Tour, and overall I just think the original is better. Of course, they could have fixed my issues in a deluxe. They love changing random aspects of Tour tracks, it seems, like the floor on Sky Garden for some reason. So I'm not saying I don't want it, I'm just a little cautious. Los Angeles Laps always felt to me like one of the more meh city tracks. Better than Tokyo Blur, worse than Sydney Sprint. It's fine, but we already have a New York Minute for an American city. I just don't think Los Angeles is that interesting of a location. The set pieces are fine, and we're almost definitely getting it in Wave 5, since it's summerish, but I'm not begging for it. Good course, but not one of the best city tracks like the aforementioned Sydney Sprint, Bangkok Rush, or Amsterdam Drift. A fan favorite course that's similar to Airship Fortress, I just don't like the tour remake of that much. I don't really like how they added half pipes to this section. I also didn't really like how they filled it with water in 7. I think it was the best in Wii. Also, the graphics just don't look that great. Tour's cartoony aesthetic just really doesn't look that great on more bright and grassy courses. Overall, it's fine, and I think I do want to see it in 8 Deluxe, but like Airship Fortress, I'm cautious. Troopa Beach and Tour basically keeps all the changes 7 made to the track that make it really good, which is why I think it'd be nice to see in 8 Deluxe. You might be looking at me like I'm crazy. Peach Circuit this high? But seriously, the Tour remake of this course is phenomenal. Sure, it doesn't have any obstacles, but the aesthetics and verticality they added make it all worth it. I just love when they turn these Super and Super Circuit tracks from flat and boring into, well, actual race tracks. That's why Mario Circuit 3 is bad, not because of the general layout, because they didn't try. They actually tried with Peach Circuit, and I think that's worth celebrating. Tour really didn't change Guy Bazaar at all, which honestly is completely fine. The track was really good in 7, and they just took what worked, and that's pretty cool, honestly. One of our last SNES courses is Vanilla Lake 2, one of the only SNES courses I'm actually a decent fan of. I don't know what it is about jumping over cracks in the ice with my cart, but it's always been super satisfying to me. It's part of the reason why I like N64 Sherbert, and it's why I like this course too. They didn't change much, but that's fine because Vanilla Lake 2 was honestly always one of the better tracks from the first game. Piranha Plant Cove is pretty basic as an actual track, but it's a brand new course, one I think would be really cool to see in HD. You go inside ruins, that's just cool. Dino Jungle has always been a pretty solid course. Not one of Double Dash's very best, but a very enjoyable one. The Tour remake is basically the same as the 7 remake, so it's still a pretty damn good track. Also, off topic, but I would have really loved to see if they could have put Dino Jungle in Mario Kart DS, because a low poly dinosaur sounds great. Cheep-Cheep Island was an amazing course in Super Circuit, and while yes, the remake changed a lot about the original track, I think it still keeps the spirit intact and it's still really good. This is how you do it, Sky Garden. The prequel to Vanilla Lake 2, we have Vanilla Lake 1. They changed a surprising amount of this course in Tour, and that is not a bad thing at all. Vanilla Lake 1 was a pretty bad course in Super, so basically just making an entirely new course and slapping the name on it, that's honestly fine with me. The most recently released city course, Athens Dash, is pretty good. I love how you can drive on the stands, and well, there's not a lot to the course in general, but it's good for what it is. One of my favorite Nitro courses in Mario Kart 7 was Wario Shipyard, which helps prove that Wario has the best tracks in the series. It's a sunken pirate ship graveyard. How sick is that? Vancouver Velocity probably isn't going to come to 8 Deluxe until Wave 6, since it is more winter themed, but my god, I can't wait. This track just has so many memorable set pieces. Shooting into an ice rink, the neon city, the multiple bridges, orange trees next to a pond. It's all really, really nice, and I can't wait to see what they do to it in 8 Deluxe. Sunset Wilds in Tour is nearly a perfect remake, removing the offensive imagery from the original and giving it an explorer theme, which honestly is really clever and really cool. The sunset is intact, it's in the title, I hope it should be, and they even added little dinosaur footprints. Ooh, fun. I am a pretty big fan of the Luigi's Mansion games. I love all three of them. Yes, including Dark Moon. And the track in Mario Kart is no exception. It's a brilliant theme for a course, and Tour's more cartoony aesthetic kinda reminds me of the more cartoony aesthetic from Dark Moon and 3, which makes it a very nice fit in my opinion. I mean, of course Wii Rainbow Road is this high. It's obviously one of the remakes they spent the most time on in Tour, and for good reason, because they made it even better than the original in my opinion. Obviously, it's coming to 8 Deluxe as the final course, so I'm really hoping that they can stick their landing. Both numbers 4 and 3 are Bowser Castles, and it's weird. While I want both of them very, very badly, I think SNES Bowser Castle 3 is the one I want less. It's weird to say because I think this course is much more likely to get in compared to our other one, yet I want the other one slightly more. But enough waffling, this track is just great. Remember when I said I loved when they add verticality to these SNES and Game Boy tracks during Peach Circuit? Well, they did that here, and they did it very well, basically transforming this fairly underwhelming and mediocre course from the Super Nintendo into a really, really fun time. Unlike GBA Bowser Castle 1, 2, and 3, 4 actually has a different aesthetic, and it's brilliant. A crumbling castle where you can see the sky and volcanoes outside, and you can actually drive outside the castle, dodging these metal balls for some reason, but that's besides the point. After lap 1 in Tour, you take a completely different route through the castle, and just imagining a multi-path Bowser's Castle in 8 Deluxe gives me goosebumps. I really hope it gets in, even if the more likely choice would also make me super happy. The last two are tracks I honestly don't have that much to say about. They're just some of my favorites in the series, and I hope they get into the most beefy game in the series. First is DK Mountain, a track I'm pretty sure they'll leave behind for Dino Dino Jungle. But I hope they don't because while that track is great, DK Mountain is just on another level. Finally, Daisy Cruiser, a track that got aesthetically changed a bit from Mario Kart 7, but honestly I think it looks great. The hanging lights on the ship bed, the dining area has had a huge glow up. I think this is amazing, and not only that, it's still an amazing course that I would love to see again. And that's it. Tell me what courses you'd like to see in 8 Deluxe in the comments, and hopefully next time I'll come up with an incredibly iconic phrase to end videos on. Bye! Also, thank you to my blooper tier patron Shaman, you're the best.